certainty of death, small chance of success. What are we waiting for?
Fellas, I feel this is my lucky day.
Malcolm is muted.
Malcolm, you're muted, brother.
Yeah, that's right. I had a random thing on my end where the video wasn't playing, and all of a sudden it was playing, and
I get that sometimes. Yeah.
But with that, we're live. Welcome to another episode of Rankum. It's gonna be fun. We're talking about movies based on young adult books. But we've got also got a great panel here. We've got Jacob Cameron. Jacob, how's it going?
It's going good, Malcolm. Thank you for having me back. I am incredibly tired. I ran my first half marathon this morning. I even got my huge medal to prove it. Here you go. This is the actual size of the medal, folks. It's like as big as my head, but I did it. And I'm ready to talk about one of my other great loves, movies. So I'm excited to be here.
We've also got Eric here. Eric, how's it going?
I'm doing fine. I'm especially eager to talk about YA books because I grew up by the time the whole YA craze and all of the adaptations came up. Most of them bad, but some of them pretty good. At least 12 are pretty good to be in this list, and I'm happy to be here with this wonderful panel. Some people I haven't seen in a while. Some people I see way too much, but I'm always happy to see. And obviously, my tag team partner as well. He's great. He knows it. I know I'm great, but less great than him. But it doesn't matter here because we are not trivia. We're not doing trivia today. Well,
That
later
comes
today.
later.
Yeah.
We've also got Jordan Anderson here. Jordan, how's it going?
It's going good. I am here to represent. Well, I'm here to represent a lot, but right now my name's representing the Hunger Games, and also I only wish that I could run as much as Jacob does because I've done the Dirty Dash 3 times and did a 5K, but that's about my extent of running. So,
Hey, that's good.
yeah.
And last but not least, we've got Chad Webb. Chad, how's it going?
Hey, it's going great. I love me a good rankum, and this is a pretty fun topic. So excited to get into it.
Yep. And this is really an interesting. When I was doing my research for this, because I found out a couple of movies that I didn't realize were based on books, rather than being young adult books.
Right.
But one rule that we have done, that I have done for this one, because there's a lot of franchisee ones here, is only one per franchise will make the final list. But for that, Jacob, we're going to go to you first.
All right, so let's put that franchise rule to the test. So let's get Harry Potter off the board right now. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Now, I'm fully aware that like people will call foul because Deathly Hallows shouldn't have been split into two parts, and I agree. However, Deathly Hallows Part 2, I will go on record as saying is one of the most satisfying conclusions to any series like in movie history. Like it comes pretty close. Everything is wrapped up in about as good a fashion as possible. I was about halfway through the book when the movie came out, so I didn't really know any of the twists going in, so I was legitimately like really shocked when they happened. Should I say it? Like it's been like 10 plus years, but Snape dies. He turns out to be a sleeper agent in Voldemort's Death Eaters, and Harry Potter was the last Horcrux and all of that. So when that happened, it hit me like a freight train because I hated Snape. He was a bully. I got bullied a lot as a kid, so I just did not like Snape. But when that hit, I was like, no, there's no way. But as I've gotten older, it's gotten better the more I've thought about it. And the movie does suffer from the fact that it is cut into two parts, but that was just the style at the time. It just was what it was. But this movie just hits. Like it like just there's like it's a near perfect finale. So you could argue I'm quality wise, I'm sure you could argue better Harry Potter movies, but my choice absolutely is Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Eric, what do you say about Deathly Hallows Part 2?
Well, there are absolutely better movies than Deadly Hallows Part 2 in the Harry Potter franchise. And I was actually, if I was planning, if I'm going first, I also was going to go with the big franchise first. I would have put Prisoner of Azkaban, mainly because the first two don't count as YA. They are probably children book. And the Prisoner of Azkaban is the one that takes a step to YA. But on the other hand, I was pretty convinced by Jacob's argument. I think it's probably the only ending of a franchise that's going to make it in this list, because all the other part one, part two are not as great. Well, there's maybe like two more examples, and one that wasn't even finished. So I don't think anyone's going to bring Allegiant, the Divergent movies. Probably, I don't know. Maybe there's a fan. So I will vote yes, mainly because it is pretty satisfying finale. It's a pretty good closure. I actually have a funny story with Deadly Hallows. I was a really, really big fan of Harry Potter at the time. I'm still are just not as much as at the time. So I bought the Deadly Hallows book as soon as it came up here in my town, and then I didn't watch the Deadly Hallows movies over like 8 years later. So I was sort of avoiding Deadly Hallows for a while, and when I saw it, I thought it was pretty good. It's actually mainly my second or third favorite of the franchise, but I don't mind it being the one that represents the whole Harry Potter thing, because it's like, yeah, it has a lot of great stuff. So I don't mind if it goes up. So I will say yes.
Jordan, what do you say about Deathly Hallows Part 2?
I'll just say that you're my boy, Jacob. You picked the best Harry Potter book, yes, like our best Harry movie, and one of the best books. I don't know, like for movies, I say yes, it's absolutely the movies in my top 5 movies of all time ever made. Period. And for me, I just think that the Prisoner of Azkaban gets a little overrated. Like people put it on this pedestal, and it's good, it's really good, but I mean, I just don't think that it's the best, or even the second best. Might be third for me, maybe. But yeah, the part 2, yeah, that the stuff with Professor Snape, yeah, like in the book, it hits even harder. Like that was one of the biggest twists, like I've almost ever seen, like in anything, and it just like got me to like a character you hate so much, and then you just love him to where like Snape's got to be like maybe my favorite character on this whole out of any of these movies we're going to talk about today. Like he's just a phenomenal character, and just the writing for him and writing for the whole movie. There's some cool stuff with like Neville. He gets to be a badass, and then Ron Weasley's mom, like, not my daughter, you bitch, and like there's a lot of cool line that just the way that they all team up, and also it has one of the greatest trailers. If you go back and watch that trailer for Deathly Hallows Part 2, that gets you so hyped, like for this movie. Like it's just great. So yeah, I think that absolutely this one's like right at the top of my list. So yeah, I'll say yes to Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Chad, what do you say about Deathly Hallows Part 2?
Yeah, I'm actually right in the same camp as Jordan there. This is my number one of the Harry Potter franchise. I don't actually think it suffers because they split it in two. I think it's actually better because they split it in two, because it's like the shortest one. It's like a solid 2 hours. Like the pacing in it is incredible. However, I also love Deathly Hallows Part 1. So I'm just a Harry Potter guy. I don't know. I just love them all for different reasons. Azkaban does rule. And I was sitting there thinking about, which one to put in here. And I was like, kind of agree. Like, yeah, I think the one of the best representatives of the franchise, one of the best adaptations is the first movie. But I kind of agree. Like, that's more of a children's thing. And then Azkaban is where it starts to get into young adult. And then I think it's even better with the young adult in 6 because you have a lot of they're starting to go on dates and stuff like that. But Deathly Hallows Part 2 is a really great representative, not just because like it's a great movie, but also because I feel like you do really start to see Daniel Radcliffe in that movie. Like, wow, he's a legit actor now. Like in Deathly Hallows Part 2, he's really like everything's come full circle. And yeah, I absolutely love Snape in it. I love all of the action in it, and I just think it's just such an incredible action movie, Harry Potter film, just big franchise ender, and I think it just did it perfectly. So yeah, I would absolutely say this is a great one to pick. So good job.
One thing before we move on, I don't know if you all caught this or not, but if you watch all of the Warner Brothers logos, like starting with Sorcerer's Stone and going to Deathly Hallows Part 2, they progressively get darker. So like starts with the clear blue sky in Sorcerer's Stone, and then Chamber's Secrets it's getting a little darker, and then Azkaban is a little more darker, and then by Goblet of Fire and Order of the Phoenix it's pretty much pitch black. So it's a pretty I'm sure you all caught that, but it's a pretty nice map of the tone and how mature the movies get over the course of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely in the camp. Like the first two Harry Potter books are more like aimed at kids, but from the third onwards, definitely young adults. I mean, I like Deathly Hallows Part 2, and it's one of those ones where like Harry Potter movies, like pretty much they all are like are largely like 3.5 stars to 5 stars. Like there's not really one in the Disney movement franchise that I really don't like. I am in the camp of I think Prison of Azkaban is the better one. And funny enough, that's the one I would have gone for. If it got round to me, but Deathly Hallows Part 2 is going to make this list. So yeah, yeah. There we go. Over to Eric for his first nomination.
Yeah, let me check my list real quick. So yeah, I'll also go first with a big franchise just to get those out of the way, and later keep up with the underrated or less known ones. So speaking of the big movie of the last couple of weekends, like the Hunger Games is also the other like relatively popular, not relatively because it's really popular, but the most popular representation of the YA aside from the Harry Potter, and probably the best franchise out of the ones that are not fully fantasy like Harry Potter or Percy Jackson. And my favorite, and as far as I have seen, the probably better movie in the franchise is Catching Fire. To me, it's also the really best book out of them. I pick it mostly because it's the one that actually has the Hunger Games, aside from the first one. But I actually don't really like the first one, so that's my my cross to take. I don't really like the first Hunger Games, the movie, because I just read by the time it came up, I just read the book and saw the movie, and I didn't really dug all the stuff. But Catching Fire, I thought is the best adaptation of the books. It's the one that looks the best. It's the one that has, aside from the whole war thing, the higher stakes. You meet a lot of the better characters in supporting characters. I mean, you get Finnigo there, who's pretty great. The character that Jenna Malone plays, I forgot her name, but she's pretty great. All the other tributes that had won before, the victors, are pretty great. And like the whole thing with Cena, the character from Lenny Kravitz, is pretty heartbreaking stuff. The map where they play the Hunger Games is probably the coolest one in the franchise so far. There's not much competition. There's only others two. And then I'm forgetting something else that's great. You get the progression with the character. With all the characters get a pretty interesting progressions in their arcs. And I wish I had seen it before this, but I'm pretty sure I mostly feel confident that it's the best one. I haven't seen it in a while. But yeah, I will propose Catching Fire for this ranking. And if you, as a side note, if you see me busy at the time of this ranking, I'm finishing my homework. I'm doing a collage for a design assignment. So if you see me reacting negatively, sometimes you have to guess if I'm reacting to the stuff you're telling or something that comes up with my homework. So yeah, so sorry about that.
Jordan, what do you say about Catching Fire?
Yeah, I think Catching Fire is pretty good. Like, I'm kind of the same. It's been a little minute since I've seen all the Hunger Games. I did just see Songbirds and Snakes yesterday. That was really good. To me, like they're almost all on par to me. They're all different in their own way, but they all have things I really like, things I really dislike. So if we're only going to allow one from each franchise. I think probably Catching Fire is a good one to have in there. Yeah, it's really where like I agree. Like so many characters get more of a progression. I mean, uh, you got more of a progression with like Haymitch. You got progression with Stanley Tucci's character, even President Snow to an extent, and then the sad stuff with Lenny Kravitz, and then just adding in like Jenna Malone or like Sam Claflin and stuff is awesome. And yeah, I think that it works. And I think that I do probably like Catching Fire slightly more, but I mean, they all have things that I love. So it's really hard. It's like, ask me tomorrow which one that I like the best is kind of flip flops for me. But it does have actual Hunger Games. And that's the thing I like the most out of this is the Hunger Games. So I kind of lean maybe towards this one and the first one, because I just like when they're doing actual Hunger Games, but I like everything, because just like, I mean, not to go on too much of a tangent, but with Songbirds and Snakes, I kind of like when they weren't doing Hunger Games in that particular movie. But yeah, so I'll say yes to Catching Fire. Yeah.
Chad, what do you say about Hunger Games Catching Fire?
Yeah, I'm in a very similar boat. When I was in college, I really got into the Hunger Games. Like I read through all the books, saw all the movies in the theaters. But I do remember vividly after watching Catching Fire being like, holy shit! Like the first one was good, but then Catching Fire, I remember going, holy crap! Okay, this is like really something here. I wish I had more to talk about the actual movie, but I do remember liking most of these, and I really, really want to revisit them soon, especially with the new one out already that I still haven't seen yet. But yeah, I think from what I remember, Catching Fire is maybe the best of the franchise. So yeah, I think this is a good representative of the franchise, and I think the franchise should be represented. So there you go.
Yeah, like I love that games. Like I recently did a watch of all of them early in the year. And yeah, but Catching Fire is my favorite one of the four that I've seen. I've still got to get around to the new one, but yeah, so it's easiest for me for Catching Fire. But Jacob, what do you say about Catching Fire?
I am in agreement with everyone. I think Catching Fire is the best Hunger Games movie. It really ups the ante with everything that we know. We get the late Philip Seymour Hoffman as the gameskeeper. I believe Plutarch Heavensby. That's his name.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Wes Bentley's character. I can't remember his name now. I got Plutarch.
Seneca Crane is his name.
Thank you, Seneca Crane. But we get Philip Seymour Hoffman. He was always great in everything that he was in. Rest in peace. The Hunger Games where it's on a desert island, I thought that was very clever. It legit scared me with like the Mockingjays like repeating like Primrose's screaming voice to torture Katniss. That screwed me up quite a bit. Not gonna lie. So it definitely is. It takes the series in darker directions, which the book certainly did from the first one, and it's something I definitely appreciated. So yeah, I say it goes on the list.
But Jordan, what is the first one you're going to bring up?
Well, speaking of franchises, maybe I'll go with one more franchise that I'm a big fan of, and I know that my co-host Austin, he's a big fan of, but I don't know how many other people are big fans. We'll see. I'm kind of curious to see what the panel says. But I'm a big fan of the Maze Runner franchise. I think that's a really good YA adaptation. And my favorite one of the franchise is the third one, The Death Cure. That's, for my money, I think that's the best one. But I think for those, progressively get better and better. Like they start out good, the second one's great, and then the third one's just like really awesome. And I just like them, just like they're just like sick of them putting them through everything that they have had to go through, the maze trials, and like just like the whole city and the whatever they call their capital, I can't remember, but it's all against them, and they just want to go and take them down. And I think Dylan O'Brien is a really underrated actor. I think think he has the chop to be A-list someday. I think he'll eventually get there at some point. But and yeah, like I just really love all the characters, and I love that they don't really give Dylan O'Brien in this franchise a love interest. They just have the girl that he kind of likes, thinks a little cute, but then she ends up betraying him, and in the course of these movies, and like it's a cool thing to see because it's not just like predictable or like cookie cutter. Then you like throw in some characters that were introduced maybe in the second, but I mean like Giancarlo Esposito, he has more to do. You got Walton Goggins in there. You got Patricia Clarkson, and then just a lot of the other kids that are with them. Will Poulter's there, and then oh, I forget that plays Newt, but yeah, he's in there. Yeah, and I think that's a lot of fun. I haven't ever read the books. I really want to though, so that's on my 9 list of books. I have ADD, so I have a hard time like focusing for long periods of time reading books. But I try. But yeah, I just think that that's really good. And so yeah, I'll say if we're gonna have another franchise, I'll say the Maze Runner, the Death Cure.
Chad, what do you say about Maze Runner, the Death Cure?
Yeah, I mean, you just hit like a kind of a brick wall for me. I haven't read the books or seen any of the movies. This is one that I've always been interested to check out, but I just haven't. You know, if I had like one more day that I was trying to actually like do some, not studying, but preparation for this Rankum, I might have checked out the Maze Runner, but I just didn't get to it. But I look forward to checking them out, and I don't know. Let's see if it's popular with the rest of the crew.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Maze Runner Death Cure is my favorite of the trilogy. But this is one of those cases like there's a lot of young adult adaptations that are like a lot more so I'm going to say no to this. It's kind of not in the realm of where I was going to say of the ones I don't mind making on the list. So yeah, Jacob, what do you say about Maze Runner, the Death Cure?
To be completely honest, I don't remember seeing this. I saw the first one, and all that I know about it is that Dylan O'Brien is the star, and Wes Ball directed all 3, and he's going to be directing the new Planet of the Apes movie next year. So this is not an unknown name, but I swear to God, like I completely forgot Maze Runner was a trilogy. So to be completely fair, I don't remember seeing the movie. I like the idea of the Maze Runner. I thought the first Maze Runner movie was pretty good. So, but I do not remember seeing Death Cure. It's due for a rewatch if I have seen it, but I'm blanking on it at the moment.
But Eric, what do you say about Maze Runner, the Death Cure?
So did Jacob vote yes or no? Maybe I missed that.
I think
Just
no, based on a technicality that I don't remember seeing it.
What happens when we get tied? Do we give it to the audience?
Well, essentially, it's not going to be a tie because 3 people have already said no to it.
Oh, 3 people said no. I thought Chad said yes. I'll say it's a shame because I also haven't seen the third one. I remember really liking the first one. Like I did forgot about the whole franchise. Like when you mentioned it, like yeah, Maze Runner is pretty good. I forgot they actually closed the trilogy, so I'm glad it happened. I have also funny history with that movie because I was waiting to see it in my theater and they never brought it up, so I never actually got the chance to see it. But it has a pretty great cast. It showed me that Will Poulter had a really great range because I had only seen seen him in We Are the Millers and the Chronicles of Narnia, which I don't know if they count as YA. Let's see later, maybe. And probably they count. But yeah, it's a shame it's not making it based on a technicality, but I'm sure most of us are waiting to see it later in our lives.
Yeah. Well, go check it out because they're really good.
Especially with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes and West Ball, I definitely want to rewatch him.
Yeah.
I want to see what he does. Yeah.
You got that job probably because he's a good director, I'd say. So,
but that Chad came back just in time because it's his turn to nominate a movie.
Yeah, it's hard. I'm between two, but hope. I mean, hopefully, it'll probably get back around to me. But I was like, which one do I do first? I'm gonna go with one of my favorites. I actually did get to rewatch it because I just wanted to, and then I was like, you know what? It is a damn pretty good movie. I'm gonna nominate The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Surprise, not a franchise. I do think this one is pretty incredible. I think it's very relatable to a lot of people. It has a lot of themes to it, like there's sexual abuse in there. There's just mental health issues, but there's also it talks about love. It talks about gay issues, LGBT stuff. So there's just so much going on with all these characters, but the relationship that they build and the kind of living in the moment idea of, being like adolescent and you're like, going on to the next phase of life. But you're like, I don't know what's to come, but I'm just going to, ride in this car and listen to David Bowie. I mean, that's what more can you want? That's just pretty incredible. I love that song. It made me go like, guys, you've never heard of David Bowie's Heroes? Okay. But I love Emma Watson and all the other cast in it. Ezra Miller. That aside, I do think they are still pretty good in the movie. But yeah, Perks is just a really incredible one. I really one day want to read that book. So yeah.
I love Perks of Being a Wallflower. I think it's a really good coming of age movie. And I mean, just like most of these, I've not actually read the actual book it's based on, but it's just one of those ones that I think is really good. I think Emma Watson is especially great in it, and say what you want about Ezra Miller, he's also really good in the movie as well. And yeah, and it's going to get to like a thing that I've noticed a lot with a lot of these young adult adaptations. There's a lot of connecting characters, and they're like Shane Buddy's been in many different ones. Like Logan Lerman was Percy Jackson, and he was in this. Emma Watson was in Harry Potter, so it's like there's a lot of
Yeah.
crossover between these. Um, but um, but Jacob, it's a yes for me for Perks. But Jacob, what do you say about Perks being Wallflower?
It's a hearty yes. Like I really do like this movie quite a bit. It's a movie so good that Ezra Miller couldn't even ruin it. But well, that would be a little later on in life. But yeah, this is good movie, really good message. Logan Lerman is awesome in it. And funny enough, this is, I think, the only example of the author of the book that the movie is based on. The movie is directed literally by the author of the book, Stephen Chbosky. I don't know if that's a fairly rare thing. I know Stephen King directed one of his stories in Maximum Overdrive, but that movie is just like Perks of Being Wallflowers here, and Maximum Overdrive's way over there in terms of quality. But it's the example I pulled. But it's the only example I could pull of an author writing the book and then directing the movie based off of said book that I could pull that actually turned out to be really good. So yeah, it's going on the list.
But Eric, what do you say about Perks of Being a Wallflower?
Yeah, it was probably going to be my next one as well. So I'm really happy it came up early and it's getting a lot of love. So yeah, speaking of Steven Chbosky, like he kept directing. He made a really good movie in Wonder, and then a really, really bad movie in Dear Evan Hansen. So that's fun. But the Perks is actually one of the better. To me, it's one of the better ones because it deals with really mature themes. Like most YA movies keep their mature themes as like world-ending stuff or revolutions or all of that. And this one is actually one of those coming-of-age books/movies that actually handles like really tough, real to most people themes. And I did read the book of this one. I remember really liking both of them. I haven't watched the movie in a while, but I remember like it was really important to me as a young adult, as it seems. I was when it came up, I was 13 years old, I think, when the movie came out, and I pretty much the same year that I think I saw and read the book at the same time. Not at the same time exactly, but you know what I mean. yeah, The Perks. Happy to make it to the list.
Talk about the right age to watch that movie.
Yeah.
But Jordan, what do you say about Perks of Being a Wallflower?
Yeah, this is a pretty easy yes for me. This movie's in my top 5 of this list. It's in my personal top 64 favorite movies, and yeah, like the movie's just phenomenal. Just like very, very powerful, and just deals with some really cool themes about just friendship and like abuse, yeah, and like the mental thing. And I mean, despite what Ezra Miller has done in real life, like I mean, I can kind of separate that because I think that he's phenomenal in this, and also like I feel from in real life because I think he's going through some serious mental things that hopefully he gets that all taken care of or gets help, you know. But and yeah, like I think that it's just great. Like it's a really great story, and it's one that I go back to all the time. I was pretty late to it though. I waited a couple of years after it was released to see it, or actually I waited quite a while. I waited like 6 or 7 years probably to see it. But yeah, man, this movie just hit me, and there's a very powerful ending to it. I love a movie with a good, powerful, and it just hits hard. And yeah, so yeah, I'll say yes for Perks of Being a Wallflower.
And yeah, but that it comes back around. It comes to me, and I'm going to bring up the one I hinted at earlier about ones that have come up on lists. I had no idea was based on a young adult book, and the one I'm going to bring up is I Know What You Did Last Summer. That is based on a young adult book.
Mm.
They changed it up a lot to make it a slasher, but it is still based on the book, and I think it's really good. And I think this is just a good example of a movie sort of coming out that you may not realize based on a book, and it just not um impacting your influence either because I don't think there was anyone like comparing this to the book going, oh yeah, they changed this and this, like, and when it came out it wasn't until later when we could actually Google stuff. But Jacob, what do you say about I Know What You Did Last Summer?
This is due for a rewatch for me. I have seen it, and I did remember liking it, so I will say yes. I would put it on the list, and really, it really helps that this movie was written by a gentleman that Eric knows a little bit of named Kevin D. Williamson. Created Scream, did a lot of stuff in the slasher world, and his work just shines like a diamond, especially here. He really does elevate the material, in my opinion, and the cast is really good here too. You see a lot of like people who either were about to be stars or were stars already. I know Sarah Michelle Gellar is in here, Jennifer Love Hewitt's in here as well. So it seems like an odd choice, but I would say, yeah, put it on the list.
Rumor has it Eric and Brandon are still playing Scream trivia to this day. They just never stop because they keep getting the questions right. But Eric, what do you say about I Know What You Did Last Summer?
Yeah, every once in a while I'll send him a question, and then he answers, and he sends me a question, and then we're going to talk about it more when Hunter joins in the trivia we're playing later today. But I was actually surprised. I Know What You Did Last Summer was a YA adaptation. Sorry. In my research, I didn't consider it to put it here mainly because I don't know that much about the book. But on the other hand, I don't think many horror movies are going to come up here. Well, maybe another one, probably later, if you know, you know. But I don't mind it being I Know What You Did Last Summer. I don't think it's my favorite out of the whole. Obviously, it's not my favorite out of the Williamson crop, but it's still a pretty good movie, a pretty fun one. It started a relatively popular franchise that thankfully stopped by now, but it has a great cast, so I don't mind it being the least. So it's a yes for me.
Jordan, what do you say about I Know What You Did Last Summer?
Well, I had no idea this was based on a book, but and because of that, in my research, I didn't really even have it on any of my lists, and it's fine. Like it's a fine movie. Like I think it's it's good. It's probably better than fine. It's good, but yeah, it's just not one that I think of when I think of like young adult book adaptations, and I don't think honestly probably most people unless we're doing research on it are gonna really think of it. So I will probably say no.
But Chad, what do you say about I Know What You Did Last Summer?
Yeah, I actually didn't know about the book until my wife told me. Oh, you could put that on your list, and then I kind of just forgot about it. And then I was like, when you brought it up, I was like, you know what, this is kind of an interesting fun fact that not because it's a book from the '70s that a lot of people probably forgot. So, but the movie's remembered, and I think the movie. I also haven't seen it in a very long time, but. As slashers go, I don't think it's a particularly bad one or anything. And yeah, if you get a Kevin Williamson treatment, for your movie, it's going to elevate it. I mean, that's what he did to H2O Halloween. So, yeah, and Scream is a franchise I love as well. Yeah, I'll go ahead and say yes for this, just because I think I think it's a really fun fact, and I think it's a very interesting movie to have on the list. So I'll say yeah.
Yeah. With that, Jacob, we go back to you for your next nomination.
All right, so for my next nomination, I'm going with a little-known movie from 2018 called Love, Simon. This is based on the book Simon versus the Homo sapiens Agenda. I was not prepared for how emotional this movie would make me. It's the basic premise is that it follows a guy named Simon. He's in high school and he is gay, but he has told absolutely nobody about this. The only person he tells about this is his pen pal named Blue. However, he's kind of blackmailed and basically said your secret will be revealed if circumstances and otherwise. And the movie is actually, like I said, it is very emotional and it's very well done. Nick Robinson plays Simon and he's good. Jennifer Garner plays his mom. She's good. Josh Duhamel Duhamel, thank you.
Yeah.
He has some of his. He has my favorite scene of his where it's in the driveway of their house. If you watch the movie, you'll know when you see it. And Catherine Langford is good as Simon's friend Leah. She was also in 13 Reasons Why, but let's not talk about that. Love, Simon is infinitely better. But yeah, it's severely underrated. It's a movie directed by Greg Berlanti, who has a really long career, but basically spearheaded CW's Arrowverse, like Arrow, Flash, all those shows. And he directed a really good YA film in the middle of all of that. So yeah, Love, Simon, I nominate that.
Eric, what do you say about Love, Simon?
Yeah, I consider it as well, but I thought probably somebody else will bring it up. So I'm glad it was brought up. I saw it at the time. I saw it in theaters. I think it's probably the most famous YA LGBT book, not book, but young adult book / movie adaptation.
Yeah.
Mainly because most of LGBT stuff gets thrown up to romance or to maybe mature for some audiences. I don't want to get in that mess. But I think Love, Simon is good. I don't think it's as great, but I remember fondly watching it. I remember especially the scene when they recreate the coming out scene. But Mom, I'm straight. Oh. I thought it was pretty funny. I think the whole cast is good. It has also has a spin-off in a series called Love, Victor. I haven't seen it, but I heard it's pretty good. So I'm happy to have Love, Simon on. I'm happy to vote Love, Simon as a yes for me as well.
Jordan, what do you say about Love, Simon?
I will say that I haven't seen it, so it's a blind spot for me. I haven't gotten to it yet, so I can't really comment. So I probably have to just say no, just because I haven't seen it. But yeah.
Chad, what do you say about Love, Simon?
I like Love, Simon. It's interesting because it's one that I very very recently had to watch in a negative light for a debate. Because someone was trying to say it's the greatest coming of age love story ever, and I'm like, there's some better ones, but it is definitely a really good one. I think I do like how it basically brought the LGBT like love story coming of age kind of thing into the mainstream. So it's like, here's a story that you don't get to see a lot in mainstream films, and I do think it's done well. It might be, you know, for some maybe it could be seen as like a little bit more on the cheesy side. It was done by like the This Is Us writers, but if it works for you, I think it really works because I definitely tear up every time I watch it as well. There's just a lot of people that just don't get accepted in the way that they should, and I think this really shows that. Even though they're a bunch of rich kids, but all that aside, yeah, I do think it's very well done. Yeah, it's a cute movie, so absolutely yes.
Um, but yeah, I do love Simon. I think it's a great movie. And yeah, it's one of those ones like it's really interesting, especially with what Greg Berlanti was doing at the time he made this movie. Is like continuing found time with producing the Arrowverse and that, and just to make this movie. And yeah, it's one of those ones like there really isn't a lot of like LGBTQ young adult books being adapted into movies these days. Which I honestly think is it needs to change because I think there's not that I know much about all the other LGBTQ young adult books that are out there, but I think there needs to be more of those kind of stories just for that. But that being said, it's going to be yes for me. And Love Song is going to make the list. Eric, we go to you for your next nomination.
So yeah, I was thinking about this movie because it's not widely considered as a YA adaptation, but it's one of the most famous authors out there, and probably the only one of the few books slash movies that will come up from this person. So I'm talking about a Stephen King adaptation called Stand by Me. I'm sure you have heard of it. I will consider. I'm probably have to defend it as a YA movie technically because it's more considered as a coming of age movie. The characters barely make the mark because the YA like range goes from 12 to 18, and that's the age of the characters in that 12. And it's also a pretty like as a movie, it's a pretty good coming of age story. It's pretty memorable. It's one of the movies that makes the whole Rob Reiner a string of great movies in the 80s. Like he made masterpiece after masterpiece from this movie probably to A Few Good Men. Most people don't consider A Few Good Men a masterpiece in the same level as When Harry Met Sally or The Princess Bride, but I will put it up there. It's a pretty good movie. And Stand by Me is probably one of the better Stephen King movies that is not a horror movie. And I think mainly because the YA stuff is more of a recent phenomena. But a lot of movies count as that, even if the name YA adaptation wasn't there at the time. But if we're talking about movies that discuss coming of age themes, and it's also adaptation of a book that technically is a YA book, Stand by Me has to be here. I think it has to be as a caliber of movie, like one of the better ones out there.
Jordan, what do you say about Stand by Me?
For some reason, like when I did my research, like I just like didn't put it on my list, but like for this one, like I'm even though I've already said no to a couple of things just because maybe I more haven't seen them or I'm less familiar with them, but like but I wanted to be pretty lenient since there's a lot of stuff like on franchises and we're only including one per franchise. So yeah, Stand by Me definitely deserves to be on this list. Like, do you guys want to go see a dead body? Like, and it's just a really cool, just like like story of just like friends growing up in the summertime and hanging out and just just having some crazy times. And it's like from a different generation. I don't know if kids today do that type of thing. Too much technology and sitting on their video games and their phones and all that. But like I definitely did when I was a kid. I got into some crazy stuff and would golf with my friends way miles and miles from home and just explore and live kind of like, well, in one place, or actually a couple of places where I live, we were on the edge of the woods, so I got to go and do that, and it was fun. We'd build tree houses and do all kinds of cool stuff. And yeah, like I think that it definitely deserves a spot, and I'm surprised I forgot about it because it's definitely based on a book, Stephen King book, and it definitely deserves a spot on here. So yeah, I'll say yes.
Chad, what do you say about Stand By Me?
Okay, Jordan, but did you ever find a dead body in those woods?
No, I never found a dead body. I found some dead animals and like remains of that. But
oh, all right. Well, yeah, Stephen King is actually my favorite author. So that is interesting. That I also just didn't think about King. I was like, he loves to write about like like children and growing up and stuff, but it's also normally usually centered around like a horror thing. But yeah, Stand By Me is not. It's really just kind of a coming of age story. However, where Eric was talking about like having to defend it as a young adult, the thing that I would say that does kind of make it a young adult is, well, Stephen King is never really writing like legit children's books, but other than that, the movie itself, a lot of these kids are just talking about a lot of really like grown up adult stuff. Like the conversations they have, even though they're a little bit younger, are really deep. Like the River Phoenix scene is just so deep and just really good, and it's just a great movie. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to say yes to this one. And I wish I had like considered more King books, but I think of all the ones that he wrote that are about like kind of a young adult thing, this is one of the best ones. I can't remember if I've actually read through the novella, but the movie is damn good. So yes.
Yeah, this is one of those ones like I like the movie Stand By Me, but I don't consider it a young adult. Like it well, yes, the story involves kids and that, but it's also one of those ones like I think the actual book, because it is actually more of it's actually a short story in a collection of books as it is. And I think that whole collection, if the whole collection was about like young adult stories and stuff, then I probably would have leaned towards yes, but because it's not, I'm going to say no to this, just for technicalities. But Jacob, what do you say about Stand By Me?
So I have not seen this movie in a minute. I have seen it and I did enjoy it. But you know what? I'm going to say yes. And like even like even taking like the YA stuff out of it, it's still a really good movie. Like Eric was talking about, this was made during like Rob Reiner's like his masterpiece era, from like This Is Spinal Tap up through like he was saying A Few Good Men. Like he was jumping from genre to genre and he was just never missing. Like it was crazy the run that he had. But just limiting it to Stand By Me. The movie has a pretty stacked cast. It's like just the 5 main actors: Will Wheaton, River Phoenix, rest in peace, Corey Feldman, Jack O'Connell, and Kiefer Sutherland. All of those names would go on to be pretty big deals in the near and then the distant future. So, yeah, I'd say for posterity's sake, I'd give it a big recommendation.
But if that Stand By Me is going to make the list, Jordan, we go to you next.
yeah, so I went with another one that like I didn't know it was even based on a book, so I did research on this, and I was pleasantly surprised because I love this one. It may be one that maybe a lot of other people didn't think of, but I want to go with a movie called Beautiful Boy. So it's got Steve Carell. It's got Timothy Chalamet, Amy Ryan, and this more Tierney, Jack Dylan Grazer. But and like this movie, like I only watched it pretty recently, maybe like 6-7 months ago, and man, this movie hit me hard. This movie had me like ugly crying. This movie was like it just is like such a powerful performance, especially from Steve Carell, just giving a dramatic turn, and like man, he's so good. Like he's done multiple dramatic things, and he's really good. And it's just about the a drug addiction from his son, and his son like I mean, it's hard to say. Like he feels like he legitimately, because I don't know. I've never like been like had the kind of addiction. I've known people who have, but like he seems to be legitimately trying to get off of the drugs, and it's just the addiction has a hold of him so much that he just gets into some dark things to the point where like they're worried that his son's gonna die, and like the parents are at their wits' end. They don't know what to do. They're just some emotional things, and like Steve Carell just finally realizes like there's nothing I can do. He's gonna do what he's gonna do, and I can't help him. And he goes to counseling himself over it, and he tries to get help. But the book or the movie's based on I think a couple of books, because there's some memoirs. That's a Beautiful Boy, a father's journey through his son's addiction, and then there's another one called Tweak, growing up on methamphetamines, by Nick Sheff is the author. But and yeah, it's just like really, really powerful. So yeah, I'm gonna throw out Beautiful Boy and see what you guys say.
Chad, what do you say about Beautiful Boy?
Yeah, I know I've seen at least half of this movie. I like the actors in it. Like Timothy Chalamet, the kid from It, and Shazam, and then also Steve Carell. I like them all a lot. I just remember this one not really grabbing me. So I can't even remember if I finished it. Not saying it's bad or anything like that. It just didn't particularly grab me as a movie. And I feel like it's like one that came out alongside other kind of movies that are of this. I remember like Lucas Hedges was in a movie called Ben is Back. That's kind of like this same kind of deal. And I think maybe Ben is Back I liked a little bit more. But I know this Beautiful Boy hit other people, not just Jordan, in that same way that it had hit him. But for me, I just think that it just wasn't as profound. Maybe I owe it a rewatch, but for now, I'll give it a slight no.
Yeah, this is one that once again I've and I hate saying no before technicalities, but yeah, I love Beautiful Boy. I think it's a great movie, but it's one of those ones like, because the book itself is not really a young adult adaptation. It is the memoir of the father himself that Steve Carell was playing in the movie, and the other book is the son, and that. So just because it's not really labeled as a young adult books, they're more like just memoirs and non-fiction books, I'm going to say no. But if you're doing movies based on just plain books, it would have been a yes. I just wanted to be.
Well, this is about a young adult. I'll just say that.
Well,
it's
yeah,
definitely about a young adult.
Well, that's kind of what I was getting at, though.
He's the main character.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's one of those tricky ones because, yes, the term young adult can be interpreted in many different ways. But it's also one of those ones like, just because the movie itself features a young adult doesn't mean the book itself is aimed at young adults. If that makes any sense.
Okay.
Yeah. But Jacob, what do you say about Beautiful Boy?
To be completely honest, I don't remember if I even saw this. So, like what Chad was talking about, I think this and Ben is Back came out around the same time, and I know a lot more about Ben is Back because my mom's a big Julia Roberts fan, and she is the star of that movie. So I know more about that than I did Beautiful Boy. I know Steve Carell and Timothy Chalamet were in that one, and I'm a fan of both of those actors. I do want to see it. I just have not seen it. That's a blind spot for me.
Yeah. And Eric, what do you say about Beautiful Boy?
You should check it out. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's a shame. I also wanted to start with movies that probably many people haven't seen, so I understand how Jordan must be feeling now. Like, oh, another great movie that people don't consider or haven't seen.
Yeah.
And this one I haven't seen, but I did hear a lot more about this movie than Benny's Back. I didn't remember Benny's Back actually, but I remember it was almost nominated. That both Steve Carell and Timothée Chalamet especially were considered for nominations. I don't remember if Timothy got it. I'm pretty sure he didn't, but maybe he did. I don't remember. And yeah, it's one of those like maybe the title has to be more precise to include like movies based on YA fiction books because like Beautiful Boy is not a fiction book, so that's probably will be if I was the host. That would probably be my main issue. It's not fiction, but it is in the title, so it doesn't matter. But I'm sure it's a great movie. I heard pretty good things about it. It resonates with a lot of people for a reason. So yeah, that's my thoughts on a movie I haven't seen. So yeah.
Yeah.
Go check it out. I think
Just to clarify
you'll
my
be
just to clarify my
pleasantly
point here,
surprised.
it's not that it's non-fiction. It's that I don't think the books themselves are aimed at young adults necessarily.
Yeah.
That was that. Yeah,
That's fair. It's probably aimed
sure,
more towards
I'm
like parents and more adults. Yeah.
yeah, that's the thing. I think everyone takes the term young adult books all different ways, and it's one of those ones like interpretation is always good. Yeah, it's just one of those ones like because people see
Just to bring something up because I won't bring it up because it will be like pretty much the same issue. But it's like if you brought up Mean Girls because the movie is itself for young adults, but the book is also for mothers, and it's more of a self-help book. So that would be really funny if I were to brought up Mean Girls. But I know it doesn't count, so I won't bring it up. So don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You see.
I
know
do
Beautiful Boy is
Boy.
more of a concise story, so it makes more sense to bring up Beautiful Boy because it is a book with a story as opposed to the Mean Girls, which is what's the name of the book, like Queen Bees and Wannabes, something like that. I think it's a book. It's a self-help book. Yeah, so I think that's kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean it
Totally,
is it is what it
makes
is because I mean just to bring up a difference of my things with Stand By Me is like is because I know a lot of people think, oh yeah, there's young adults in the book, which it means that it's a young adult book. But to me, that's not necessarily a thing. Like, but it is what it is. But Chad, we go back to you for your next nomination.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with the other one that I was thinking about before I nominated Perks. Is another one that I just really, really love, and to the point where I was just like, how did this not get like a Best Picture nom or something like that or something? Because I actually didn't check to see if it did, but I don't think it did. But I think this movie's pretty dang great. On rewatch, I loved it just as much, if not more, than the first time I watched it. The Spectacular Now, I think, is pretty incredible. There's a string of like a certain few different actors that I've noticed appear in a lot of these YA stuff. Like in this one, Miles Teller, Shailene Woodley, and the guy that's pretty much canceled right now, Ansel Elgort. And like a lot of these different ones, but The Spectacular Now, I think, is pretty spectacular, if I may. It's just really incredible. You follow the character Sutter, and he just kind of doesn't know, what he wants to do, but he knows he doesn't want to go and be like everyone else, and he's kind of like charismatic and charming, or at least he thinks he is, and then he's kind of doing a kind of She's All That type of deal with Shailene Woodley's character, being like, I'm gonna help her out, I'm gonna be nice, and I'm gonna take her to the prom or whatever. And then they end up falling more in love than they thought. And but he's got a lot of like father issues that he has to go figure out, and just the theme of is the now so great, like when he's like talking to a guy in the bar and he's like, you say I have my whole life ahead of me, but like you're a kid or whatever, and it's like, he's talking to all these adults and it's like, are you even happy? Like you're saying that I'm gonna be happier later or whatever, but you don't even seem to be happy. So what's so great about it? And there's just a lot of really great themes in it. I think Miles Teller is really great in it, Shailene Woodley as well, and everyone else. I just think this is a really, really great movie. So yes.
Yeah, I love Spectacular. Now, I think it's spectacular. But yeah, and yeah, it's one of those ones like there's definitely a couple that I'm probably gonna. Definitely one that if it gets back around to that there's a couple that I want to bring up that I think has both Ansel and Shailene Woodley in it. Shailene Woodley is busy when it comes to YA adaptations. Between that, the Divergent series, the other one I'm going to bring up, I'm not going to name just in case someone else wants to bring it up. um, but yeah, but I think Spectacular is such a great movie, and it's going to be an easy yes for me. Jacob, what do you say about the Spectacular
This
now?
is another one I haven't seen in a minute. I do want to rewatch it because I do enjoy both Shailene Woodley and Miles Teller. I did really enjoy this movie at the time, and both would go on to do really big things, especially Miles Teller with Top Gun Maverick last year. So I'm going to say yes.
Eric, what do you say about the Spectacular now?
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, I'm right here. Just my food just came up to a meeting, so I'll be gone in the meantime.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Spectacular Now is one I really wanted to watch before this because it's one I heard a lot about. I know more about it because of trivia stuff than because I haven't seen it. So it's a shame I haven't seen it because it has a lot of people I really like. Um, I don't wanna like vote against it because of technicality, but just to make it interesting, I would say no, just to see if it ends up in a tie. just just for that. But I don't have anything against it. I think I've heard it's pretty good, but I haven't seen it.
Jordan, what do you say about the Spectacular now?
Well, I'll support you because I freaking love the Spectacular Now. I think this movie is great. I go back to this movie all the time. I think it's phenomenal. Just Miles Teller's giving like a great performance as Sutter Keeley, and then Shailene Woodley's awesome, and then I think Brie Larson. She played the counselor. I can't remember what she plays, but
I think she's his
she's in it.
sister or something.
Okay,
Maybe I'm
yeah,
wrong.
maybe that's it. But yeah, but it's just really, really powerful. And it deals with a lot of themes. Like he definitely has like some like PTSD from like family stuff that's creating some mental trauma for him, and he just kind of like wants to be cool, and but he also wants to give up on life, and like I'm a big stand-up comedy fan. Just to like make a little like point here why that relates here is because it's not a comedy, but it's like most of the people that are good at it come from kind of like messed up backgrounds where there's abuse or there's other things involved, and broken families, and then like different things, and it brings out these kind of like unique traits in people that can be sometimes interesting depending, but and in this one it kind of makes them like, yeah, just be the real charismatic guy, and also be the guy that like is really trying to act cool and outgoing, and all that, and show off for the girl. But then you see the issues and problems and things that he deals with, and with his dad not being there. His dad's played by Kyle Chandler, and there's a really powerful scene when he goes to visit his dad, and he thinks he's going to get some help there, and it just doesn't. And yeah, it's just really, really good. And yeah, I think that out of like any of the YA ones from Miles Teller, this one is my favorite. So I'll say yes.
Yeah, so with that, Spectacular Net is going to make the list. And for my next one, it's one of those ones like the 2010s, especially the late 2010s, are really good for really good, solid YA adaptations. And another trend I've kind of noticed with a lot of YA adaptations, a lot of them really tackle with really serious subjects as well. Like there's so many that do deal with it, whether it's um and there's definitely one of two. There's definitely two that I want to bring up there. But because I think the other one that I'm thinking about is probably going to come up at some stage, I'm going to bring up the one which I think is lesser seen. And I'm bringing up 5 Feet Apart, which with Cole Sprouse and Haley Lou Richardson, who played Sabine in it. So, but like this is basically this story it deals with two young patients with cystic fibrosis who try to have a relationship despite being forced to stay 6 feet apart from each other. And it's just one of those ones that I think it's just really heartbreaking and just yeah, because I mean I watched this for the first time for this and it just broke me at the end there. And it's just one of those ones I think it's a really sad story, but I think it's a really good adaptation of a book that I didn't really know. Um, random fun fact: I ended up doing a double feature of 5 Feet Apart and another movie starring the other Sprouse twin on the same day. But um, but Jacob, what do you say about 5 Feet Apart?
Legit, I was going to bring up 5 Feet Apart if no one else was going to, because I think that movie is actually quite underrated. If for nothing else, for the ending. The ending to this movie is absolutely brutal, and I will not spoil it if anyone here has not seen it, or if anyone here has seen it. If I am safe to talk about it, I can. But but it's a very brutal ending,
I haven't
and
seen it.
it's. Oh, you have not? All right, I won't say anything. But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's like one of those endings where I was just like not prepared for how dark it was gonna get. Like it's a happy ending, but it's also a sad ending. That's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
And Haley Lou Richardson, to Malcolm's point, is very good. One of the Sprouses, I believe his name is Dylan. I grew up watching Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, and even then I couldn't tell them apart. I'm sorry, but I believe it was
It's Cole Sprouse in this.
Cole Sprouse. Excuse me.
Dylan Sprouse was in the movie that came out this year called Beautiful Disaster.
That's the one. But
It's
yeah,
hard
he
to-
was very good.
Hard to tell them
He was
apart.
he was very good in this as well. So yeah, 5 Feet Apart is definitely going on the list.
Eric, what do you say about 5 Feet Apart?
Not if I have anything to say about it. I actually haven't seen it. So I think it's funny that there's a whole subgenre of YA movies that are about diseases. Like we know the most popular one. I wouldn't even bring up the most popular one because it's not my favorite. I actually have a favorite out of the three I know most of disease YA movies. So mostly because I only want to have one of those in the list, and for my own selfish reasons, which will come up later in my turn, I will say no. But I'm sure it's pretty good. I am a pretty big fan of Haley Lou Richardson. I think she's pretty great. I think Cole Sprouse can be great when he's not stuck doing Riverdale. I always I always can tell
Yeah.
them apart because I always related more to Cody in the suit life of second Cody. So I always made an effort to that's the guy, that's Dylan, that's Cole. So I know I know who those are. I've heard pretty bad things about Beautiful Disaster, but I didn't see it, so don't worry about it. But I'm planning to see 5 Feet Apart. Just I haven't seen it. I would say no because like there's only room for one disease YA romance. But mine is not really a romance, but you'll see later. So it's a no for me.
But Jordan, you haven't seen it, but you're obviously voting yes, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I mean, for much as I want to, like, I can't really. I mean, looking at the movie, I thought I'd never heard of it, but now that that I look it up, like I do remember seeing the trailers for it, and I do remember like hearing about it, but I haven't seen it. But it does have a couple like Disney Channel. It's got Moises Arias, who is from Hannah Montana. That's another Disney guy
Yeah.
that's in there. And it looks really good, and I want to see it because I'm a big fan of like young adult coming of age, like all that stuff, like especially for movies, for sure. Maybe not as much TV. I just like my story contained and like have it wrapped up at the end of a movie. But some TV shows hit me. It depends what it is. But yeah, I gotta probably say no. I haven't seen it. Sorry.
Chad, what do you say about 5 Feet Apart?
Well, first I'll say my favorite Sprouse performance is as Julian, aka Frankenstein, in Big Daddy. But that's besides the point. 5 Feet Apart. I remember seeing the trailer for it. Haven't seen the movie. I remember because it was like deep in like COVID or whatever, and I was like, 5 Feet Apart. Is that like a play on COVID or something? But it's really good to hear that there are people who like it and think it's underrated, because I've been meaning to try to use this rankum to see a lot more movies like that are young adult, that might not be seen as, good to the majority, but maybe, there's some merit to them. So I really do want to check this out after the fact. But yeah, I haven't seen it, so I can't say yes or no.
Yeah. And on a side note, I hope Zach and Cody managed to make the reservation. If you know, you know.
I understood that.
But Jacob, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
So my next nomination, I'm going super duper duper recent with this one. One of the more pleasant surprises, movie-wise, of this year for me. It is Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, based on the book by Judy Blume. I knew who Judy Blume was. I read her fudge books like Double Fudge and Super Fudge. I read those in elementary school, so I was aware of this author. I had never read this book. And so going into this movie, I was like, okay, I'm a big fan of Rachel McAdams, so at least she's going to be good in it. I was taken aback by how pleasant this movie was. It deals with very complex things that every kid goes through. I mean, it's more tailored towards girls in the case of context of Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. But it just goes beyond that and tackles stuff that I think every kid goes through at a certain time in their life. Like I said, Rachel McAdams is very good. Kathy Bates is very good as well. The girl who plays Margaret, I'm struggling to find her name. I will find it unless someone beats me to it, but she was very good. I sincerely hope she gets more work after this. Abby Ryder Fortson, that's her name. She was very good. And the movie was directed by Kelly Fremon Craig, who also directed a movie that I sincerely hope will appear, actually, I don't think it will because it's not based on a book, so I'll just say the title, The Edge of 17. I don't think it's based on a book, but Kelly Fremon Craig is really good.
Yeah, dang.
So just give all the YA material movie-wise to Kelly Fremon Craig, because clearly she knows what she's doing. So my nomination is Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
But yeah, I mean, and if you're unfamiliar with Abby Ryder Fortson, she was Cassie Lang in the first two Ant-Man movies.
That's right. I completely forgot.
But Eric, what do you say about Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret?
That's the one I really wanted to see before this, but I didn't get the chance to. But I've heard exclusively great things about it. I'm a big fan of Rachel McAdams. I've heard she's close to getting an Oscar nomination, which I hope she does, because she's great in most movies. Pretty much all of the movies I've seen of her. I'm also a pretty big fan of The Edge of 17, which sadly is not based on a book, so can't come up here. I didn't consider Are You There, God? On the one half because I haven't seen it, but on the other half because I read it's more of a middle grade book, like just the one thing before YA. But I won't take it against it. I think it's if there's going to be a recent movie, it's probably going to have to be that one. So even if I haven't seen it, I will say yes.
Jordan, what do you say about Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
I will say that's another one I haven't seen. It's one that kind of just passed me by. Like I don't know. Like for me, like I have a Regal Unlimited pass, and the nearest Regal is almost an hour away from me. So it's like I'm kind of like I want to see everything, but I also at the same time I got to be a little selective. And I think during that time when it came out, there wasn't like a lot of other things that was going to draw me there. There would have been something where there was another movie that was drawing me in, and then also this movie's playing, and I'll go see that also. Then I would have, but I just didn't. So I haven't gotten to it. I do want to see it, but I just haven't seen it yet. So when I say I want to see it, it's like, I mean, I do, but it's not like super high in my priority list, if that makes sense. So, but I'm pretty sure someday I'll see it. So yeah, but I'll have to say no for now because I haven't seen it.
Chad, what do you say about Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret?
This is an absolutely yes. This one for me, it would be, in fact, would be high up on my list. It's high up on my 2023 movies list. Recently, I had a child. So after that, it kind of caused the going to see movies in the theater frequently thing to kind of dwindle quite a bit. But this was actually the first movie that the wife and I went to see after having our kid. So it was kind of like a little bit of a special movie. I also thought it was very, very sweet. I think it tackled the themes all very, very well. The wife cried. So I think it might hit young women or older women, or both, really, actually, a little bit harder than it might hit us. But, it definitely still hit me, just having been a kid, or just, kind of even having empathy for like what, young women have to go through. And then, but yeah, I have to say, just defend a little bit the point of any doubt that this is isn't a young adult movie is a young adult movie because it tackles the themes of going into womanhood and getting your first period and stuff like that. Those are heavy themes that are in the movie. And they're constantly talking about how scary it is, but how exciting it is, and kind of the difference of that. And different characters have different feelings about it, and about boys and all this stuff. So I think it's a very good movie. It's probably not going to get a Best Picture nomination. However, I would say that if I could pick, I would throw that in there for sure, since there's 10. But yeah, I think it's a very, very good movie. Check it out if you haven't seen it. I absolutely yes.
I think it depends on if the Academy remembers it or not as well. But yeah, I also haven't seen this.
Yeah.
I don't even remember if it has actually been released in New Zealand yet. I remember seeing it as part of the film festival then, but I just didn't get around to actually getting to it. Then
Just so
as far as
new.
I know, it hasn't been. As far as I know, it hasn't been wide released at all here. But yeah, but with that, Eric, even though you haven't seen it, you gave it a blind yes, am I right? Yeah, so with that, it's going to make the list regardless. So yeah.
Yeah, mostly because it's one of my most anticipated movies, but I haven't got the chance to see it. But yes,
Yeah.
for that.
And I'll say
that'll
again
be,
for the record, just give all the YA material to Kelly Fremont Craig because she just gets it.
But Eric, we go back to you for your next nomination.
So, now that I think about it, probably for the sake of keeping more spots open, I should have said no, but I don't mind. So yeah, I was talking about earlier about the subgenre of the C's YA movies, and I know the most popular one is The Fault in Our Stars, but that's not actually my favorite, though I did read that book at the time. That movie I have soured in the years since I saw it at the time. So now I have a new favorite one, a new contender in that one, and it's Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl. So that one came up on my radar this year because I missed the question in the trivia match I had at Multiplex. So maybe I have to see this one. And then I did see it this week, and I actually really enjoyed it. It has for those who don't know what it's about a boy who is a really big cinephile. He makes movies with his friend, or he calls him his co-worker Earl. He makes shitty movies based on the titles of the actually great movies. So he has fun with that. And his mom forces him to befriend a girl that just recently had a cancer leukemia diagnosis. And well, he befriends her. It's not actually a romance. The movie makes it explicitly in the narration that it's not a romance, but it's actually a pretty decent friendship. It grows up to be like life changing for the lead character, and Earl is really fun. Like everyone has seen this movie, it says it needs more Earl. Like the 1/3 of the title is underrepresented, but he's a really fun in the time he gets given, and it really hits close to me because he's a really good representation of grief and the preparation to that, and mostly hope, and the way that especially the main character sees himself as lesser than. He keeps a distance. But that's why he doesn't call the people around him friends. He has a weird relationship with the school. There's a lot of pretty you probably know Olivia Cook from Ready Player One, but she's pretty great in this one. She's also pretty great in Thoroughbreds with Anna Taylor-Joy, but that's another story. That's not a movie that will come up here, but it's pretty great. I forget the name of the lead character, but he's in a lot of movies. Like when I was checking his stuff, I think his name is Thomas Mann. He's been, where do I saw him? He's in Halloween Kills. He plays the police officer in the past, and he's in a lot of stuff. Somebody else can check that out later, but it's out of the 3 or 4 dying friendship YA coming of age movies. I think this is the best one. So I'll propose Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl.
He was also in Marcel the Shell with Shoes On.
That's right. Yeah, that's where. He's in that. Yeah, pretty good movie.
And Kong Skull Island, which are two vastly different movies for many reasons.
Jordan, what do you say about Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl?
Yeah, I think Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl is great too. This is another one that was pretty late too, and yeah, like it really grew on me because it's kind of, I like the like when things don't do like what you predict they're gonna do. I mean, it is predictable, like it's a dying girl, okay, but like things within that though are not predictable. Like you say, Eric, like they don't really have quite a romance. It's more of like a friendship, and I like that. I really like his friend. He's played by his friend Earl. That's played by R.J. Seiler. He's great in it. Nick Offerman and Connie Britton, they're both great in it. And then Molly Shannon being, I think, the girl's mom. I think, but and yeah, I think that that's really, really good. And yeah, like and also too, like being like saying yes to some of these movies makes me think of some of the movies I have on my list. Maybe they're not totally young adult movies that I was going to bring up. They're more like towards kids age movies. But so yeah, I'll say yes to this one. So,
Chad, what do you say about Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl?
I haven't seen the movie, and it's one that I've always heard the title a lot, but I've always confused with like other movies like Lars and the Real Girl, that I'm just like looking it up as Eric speaking, and I'm like, that's not a young adult thing at all. Oh, it is. Okay. That's one I just completely missed that I need to check out now. So I'm really excited to check it out. And, yeah, I want to see it, but what does everyone else think?
Yeah, funny enough, I also, for the longest time, I confused this with Lars and the Real Girl. I finally saw Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl earlier this year for when we did the 2015 letter series, and I was just
okay.
like, when's Ryan Gosling showing up? He's not in this. He's supposed to be in this. It's like, oh wait, I'm thinking of Lars and the Real Girl, completely different movie. Yeah, but yeah, I love Me and the Dying Girl, and yeah, I think it's a really good adaptation, and so yeah, and I will say it's one that I didn't realize was based on a book until I was doing research for this, because it came up on a few lists. I looked up like, oh, okay. But Jacob, what do you say about Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl?
Yeah, this gets a big yes from me. I saw it in theaters, and even though the title literally says "Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl," this girl is literally dying. It's one of those movies that kind of forced me to lean in a little bit. Like maybe this actually turns out, and it doesn't. Sadly, spoiler alert. But the movie is so good that it just made me think maybe it's gonna turn out better, and it didn't. But that's the power of the movie. It actually made me doubt the inevitable because of the title, Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl. Everyone involved does a great job. Olivia Cooke is the best part. So yeah, definitely, I think it deserves to be on the list.
Yeah, just to add something real quick. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I've seen a lot of movies, especially like coming of age movies where the lead character is like a cinephile, and he mentions a lot of unknown or foreign movies. And most of the times, like, even though I was that kid at the time, like as a teenager, like most of the time I really dislike that, or not dislike, but like I'll get it, I get it. but this one I actually really like because of that. Also because, like, even though he's most of a dumbass most of the time, like I pretty much counted like 15 times I said dumbass to him, because he makes a lot of mistakes. Like, they are relatable and a part of his character, and in that part about the foreign stuff, the foreign movies as adds to it. Like, I don't think it makes it just as a quirky guy like in some other movies with cinephile characters.
Yeah. Just very quickly, like, I love some of these parodies that that they mention on Dog Group. There's things like Anatomy of a Burger, A Box of O Lips, wow, Death and Tennis, My Dinner with Andre the Giant, like some of those parodies.
That one's my favorite one. My Dinner with Andre the Giant. I would have made that stuff as well.
But Jordan, we've got 3 spots left. What is the next movie you're going to bring up?
All right, 3 spots. Look, that's good because I was going to ask because.
Oh wait, I can't do math. My bad. I'm sorry.
For some reason, I got kicked out earlier. My tab just closed like automatically. I don't know what happened. And so when that happens, like everything in the private chat goes away. I'm going to bring up one that, like, a lot of people may be surprised that I actually do really like this movie. And it's one where I have these genres I don't like, but there's always just a couple that sneak in there that, like, I do really like. And it's a movie that's filled with all kinds of people that do these young adult movies. And I'm going to bring up the 2019 Little Women. Like, I actually was really surprised by this. Like Little Women is not like a movie you'd think like Jordan would like. Just that. I don't know. Like, I'm not a big period piece guy, and a lot of the just talking and the different things, that the old timey talking and stuff just doesn't always hit. But I was working in a movie theater at the time, and so I just walked in to do something in one of the theaters where it was playing, and I sat down for like 20 minutes and watched it, and then I went back to go see it, and it was really, really good. Just the story of the March family, but there's arguments to be said which is better, this one or the one from the 90s, but like I actually prefer this new one better. Like, I really like Saoirse Ronan. I think she's like one of the best parts of the movie. She's really, really good. And then you throw in like Florence Pugh, Timothy Chalamet, Emma Watson. I mean, Meryl Streep's in there, Laura Dern, and it's just really, really good. And just the story of the March family, and like their the writing, and like the love stories that are involved with it and everything. Like, it's just like a weird one that I never thought I would like, but I actually really do like it. So yeah, I'll say Little Women. Yeah, bring up a period piece of a movie, Brian. Yep. Like, this may be the only time you hear me do it. But
Chad, what do you say about Little Women?
Yeah, not just Jordan liking a period piece, but a kind of progressive one at that is a little interesting to me. But
Yeah.
but that being said, Little Women, it is weird because like we think of like the young adult genre, and we don't, or at least I don't necessarily think about a lot of like classic novels, but a lot of them are about young adult issues. And I think Jordan brought up a really good one here, at least a good novel. I do think the movie's really good. I don't remember like loving it like I thought I was going to, although on revisit I might be able to love it. I do like Greta Gerwig as a director, and I like all the actors that Jordan mentioned. So. Yeah, I do think it's a very good adaptation of the. Well, I haven't read the book, so I can't even say if it's a good adaptation, but it is a good movie. And I would love to see like classic literature make it on the list. So yeah, for sure, I'll say yes.
Yeah, this is like
And also, I don't
I,
love
I
Greta
would argue.
Gerwig either, but in this one I do.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah. I mean, I would. Yeah, I would argue that Little Women is probably the is if not probably one of the first examples of a YA book out there, and this was before the official term of young adult was actually coined. But yeah, this is like Little Woman is definitely a young adult book. Was I think and it's just one of those ones that because it's definitely like aimed at young adults, especially with the issues and stuff, and it's just one of those ones that's so good. And I would have I actually watched the '90s one for the first time for this because I've seen the 2019 one many times. I wanted to see the '90s one because I've heard that some people like it a little bit better. But I would have said yes to either one, whichever one came up first. And yeah, 2019 is good. And it's funny enough, it's not a big surprise to me because anytime it's come on tournament fights, Jordan said the exact same thing. Um, but yeah, I'm going to say it's going to be an easy
Yeah.
yes for. It's going to be an easy yes for me for Little Women. But Jacob, what do you say about Little Women 2019?
So I have not seen this movie all the way through, but I've seen enough clips, especially the ones of Saoirse Ronan, to where I've gotten a good enough idea of the quality, and it is very good. I mean, you can't go wrong with Greta Gerwig or like any of the actors listed. Saoirse Ronan, Emma Watson, Timothy Chalamet. Saoirse Ronan has a monologue in this movie that is genuinely like really good. Like it's fantastic. So I would say yes, add it to the list. And side note, Saoirse Ronan's awesome in this little action movie called Hana. Amazon did a series about it. I haven't watched that, but it was directed by Joe Wright. Or was it Joe Wright? I believe it was Joe Wright.
Yeah.
But Hana was very good, and she was awesome in that.
But um, Eric, what do you say about Little Women?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
wish
Hannah's
I
great.
had thought
I'll second
about
that.
Little Women. Now that I think about it, I forgot to think about older adaptations because I have seen like a big discussion about if like Jane Austen stuff counts as YA or William Shakespeare stuff counts as YA. And I forgot about Little. I know Little Woman is somebody else who what's it, Louisa May Alcott. I think is the author.
Louisa May
Maybe
Alcott.
yeah, that's the author. I have the book, but I haven't read it so far. But I really eager to read it, and I have seen both the '90s and the new one, and I do like more than the new one. I think it's the better. I really like what they do with the timeline stuff, the color grading that makes it different one from the other, like the colder and the warmer stuff. But obviously, the whole cast is great. I think it's funny that like, there's going to be 3 movies with Emma Watson here now that Little Woman is up here. So probably that she one of the queens of
Yeah.
YA.
Sure.
So screw you, Shailene Woodley. You're not going to make it so far. That's sorry, just kidding. But she could have been also a contender for that.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
yeah, Little Woman's great. It's the Oscar-nominated exception. It should be here on the list. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like Shaney, like we've still got 2 spots. See if we could get another one with Shane and Woodley on here. Like and Algot could pop up a few more times. think Miles Teller's been in a few too, but Chad, what is your next nomination?
Maybe not like lead, but Shailene Woodley is in The Spectacular Now, so she's on the list. But my nomination is
Yeah.
going to be, because I'm like kind of looking through, and like what I like to do sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes is like to see like more like representation and just stuff like that. And I think I have a really good one that I can nominate that will add a little bit more representation on the list, but is also just a really good movie. Even though I haven't read the book, because I guess I'm not a reader. I haven't read most of these. But I'm gonna nominate The Hate You Give. I thought that was a pretty incredible one. I saw that in the theater back in the day. Yeah, it's very relevant. There's a lot of issues like, police violence and, I guess the black experience. This one goes through what a lot of like black families have to go through, where they have to teach their kids. Um, I remember growing up, like my parents would probably teach me like the police are your friend. Always trust them, stuff like that. But then as I've grown up, definitely not saying all police are bad or anything like that. But I think as like an institutional thing, it has gotten pretty bad in certain respects, to where a lot of families will have to teach their kids, hey, look, here's what you have to do in a certain situation when you are stopped by the police, because they're not going to necessarily just see you as a kid. They might just see you as a threat just because of the color of your skin. And it's very sad that that has to happen, but I think that this movie covers that kind of thing very, very well. If you don't know a lot about the subject or what, people may have to go through, depending on who they are, I feel like, it's definitely a good look into another culture that you might not belong to. And because we just have a lot of books and stuff on the list that just have a lot of, you know, white people and stuff, I just like it. Let's add a little bit more representation, and I think it's a really great one. The Hate You Give.
Yeah, but yeah, this is one of those ones um that the book this is based on, if I remember rightly, it came out the year before the movie, so they had to have planned, like set somebody had to read the book really early on, like jumped on the chance to make a movie of it, because yeah, this is this is unfortunate because this came out the same year as Blind Spotting, and I think Blind Spotting overshadowed it a little bit, but even though both are kind of underrated in their own right. But once again, talking about people that's really familiar with the YA adaptations, Amanda Steinberg, it was in the first Hunger Games. She was also in another young adult movie called Everything that came out in the same year. So I mean, oh no, the Everything was the year before. The Darkest Minds was the same year as this, but yeah, this is um, the Hate You Give. I think is a really good movie, and if you haven't seen it, I think it needs to be seen, because it's really good and really thought provoking as well. But Jacob, what do you say about the Hate You Give?
I remember seeing this, but it has been a while. But yeah, it's definitely a movie that has very difficult subject matter, but I think the theme going around is it must be seen because it is such a difficult subject, and I feel like it's a movie that should be seen and should be understood because, like Chad brought up, uh, these are a lot of very relevant issues and very relevant problems, unfortunately. So due for a rewatch for me, but there was a monologue and I can't remember. I believe it was Amanda Stanberg's character's father. There was one close to
Yeah.
there that was particularly moving. So yeah, it definitely deserves on the list.
Um, Eric, what do you say about the Hate You Give?
So this one I haven't seen. I do agree that probably the list needs a movie like this. Like probably the only one that Countess representation is Love Simon, and that stars a white lead. So no, probably yeah, probably good to have the Hate You Give. Was planning to see it, but I haven't seen it. Yeah, so that's well that this I did see Blind Spotting, so I will agree that it's probably overshadowed by that, especially because like the Hate You Give is important, but probably more it's probably the safer version of that. So it makes sense because it's a YA adaptation, so no problem with that. But yeah, that like they seem to be necessary. Like for example, to Do the Right Thing, like it's probably the greatest movie that discusses the subject. It's still relevant even if it came up like how many years ago, like more than 30 years ago, and still it was going to be a great movie anyway, but it's still relevant. So that's the issue there. It's probably going to make it on the list, so I would also vote yes for the Hate You Give, even though it's only like 2 spots left. If one spot left, if it makes it, so yeah, why not?
Jordan, what do you say about the Hate You Give?
Yeah, I haven't seen it. It's another just blind spot, and it's one that's maybe higher on my radar than some of my other blind spots. It's one I definitely want to get around to, but I just haven't. So say no just because I haven't seen it.
But for that blind yes from Eric, it's going to make it on the list. Got 1 spot left, and it's on me. And yeah,
those blind yeses.
I'm going to try and go for the I'm going to go try for the yeah. I'm going to go for the other disease movie. I'm going to go for The Fault in Our Stars. One thing this is one of those ones I've heard a lot about since it came out. I've been meaning to check it out for the longest time. I watched it specifically for this, and yeah, it's such a really good movie. It honestly really surprised me with how much I really loved it. And yeah, it's just one of those ones like after seeing it's like there's a few other ones I wanted to watch. Like, no, I'm gonna watch something I've watched before that's happy because it's just so sad. It's just one of those ones that is tough to watch, but it's a really good movie at the same in the same vein. So yeah, I'm bringing out The Fault in Our Stars. Let's see what happens. Jacob, what do you say about The Fault in Our Stars?
I would say
Yeah,
yes. This is it's a very sad movie considering that considering the subject material and what actually happens. But Shailene Woodley's really good as Hazel Grace Lancaster. I actually read the book before I saw the movie, and so I knew what I was getting into before the movie came out, and it was still really well made. The funeral scene before the actual funeral scene I thought was very touching. And so, yeah, I would easily add Fault in Our Stars to the list. I'm sure Eric will heartily disagree with me.
But Eric, what do you say about The Fault in Our Stars?
Yeah, there's only room for one of these in this list. Mainly because it's the last one. So I will have to say no because I already made my case and I don't want to be a hypocrite. I'm just kidding. I don't have anything against liking the movie. I don't dislike it a lot. Like it's just one that I really enjoyed at the time, and that's when maybe it's not that great. And ever since I rewatched it, and but it would make sense for it to make it because it's one of the most popular ones of its kind. But I will stick to my guns and say no. But no issue if it makes it. I won't be upset about it.
Jordan, what do you say about The Fault in Our Stars?
I'll just say this is one that I saw more times than I wanted to in theaters because the same thing happened to me and my sister actually. Like we went and saw it, and then like all of our friends wanted to go see it, and other people we knew, and they kept bringing us to the theater. And we're like, I'm never one to say no unless I really can't stand a movie. Like I hated a movie I saw in theaters, but if it's one that I like, if someone else wants to go see it, yeah, I'm like let's go see it. And yeah, it's a really good movie. I think it's really powerful. Yeah, I think it's another. Yeah, it's a great. Despite, I guess we gotta preface this the Ansel Elgort stuff, but like he is good, and it's the whole thing where like people say like oh in Divergent he was playing there were a brother and sister, and now they're a love interest here. It's kind of weird, but if you think about it, but it is good, and it's not one that I would have brought up myself, but it's kind of on that borderline. If someone else brought it up, I'd say yes. So I'll say yes.
I mean, if it's fine for Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen go from a married couple in Godzilla to brother and sister in the MCU, then it should be fine the other way around.
Let's just let it slide.
It is not fine because
right,
they didn't have
sure.
any chemistry in the Godzilla movie. That I really hated those characters in that movie. So they didn't have any, even if they played brother and sister, that makes sense. They made better brother and sister than they played boyfriend and girlfriend.
Chad, what do you say about the
Yeah.
Fault in Our Stars?
Yeah, I actually was watching through this one for this, and I didn't get to the end, but I did know the ending, kind of the same vein as Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl, I believe. But I don't think even if you know the ending going in, I don't think that really can ruin a movie. Because if knowing the twist at the end, or I guess it's not really a twist, but knowing what happens at the end ruins it, then it's not a very good movie. I do think The Fault in Our Stars is a pretty good movie, at least from what I've seen so far, and I'm going to finish it tonight. But yeah, I really like the acting. I like the character development. Despite all the stuff in the public, I'm able to separate Ansel Elgort. I love Baby Driver. I love the new West Side Story. And I think he's very, very good in this. Being like this guy that's like really just trying to be very positive and like I'm kind of awesome and stuff like that, and then going to have like some like a big like kind of like rock bottom like towards the end or something scene that's where I kind of stopped. But yeah, I really liked his character, really like Shailene Woodley in it. And then also the other half of the Naked Brothers, Nat Wolf, I thought was pretty great in it as well. I loved seeing him just like smash shit up, and just the idea of like you think about like kind of like contemplating death at such a young age sounds terrifying, but then also what Nat Wolf's character has to go through to be like, I know pretty soon I'm going to be blind. I'm going to lose my eyes. I'm just going to be blind the rest of my life. I'm just like, that's also extremely terrifying. That's like, what can I go and like see before that happens? And just like, I would just be dreading that. So anyway, there's a lot of really deep stuff in this movie. I think it's very well handled. Also a very big theme of, I guess, don't meet your heroes kind of a deal in the movie as well. With Willem Dafoe's character. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to finish it. And yeah, I think it's a good one to throw on the list.
But if that that does finish off the list. Just to recap what's on the list, we've got Death Flowers Part 2, Catching Fire, Perks Being Wallflower, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Love Simon, Stand By Me, The Spectacular Now, Hey There God, It's Me, Margaret, Me on the Dying Girl, Little Women, The Hate You Give It, and The Fault in Our Stars. Jacob, did you have any honorable mentions?
Let's see. I did have one on the tip of my tongue, I thought. Oh yes, The Princess Diaries with Julie Andrews and Anne Hathaway. Just because I'm a big Julie Andrews guy, I'm a big fan of hers.
Eric, did you have any honorable mentions?
Had a bunch. I also would have mentioned The Princess Diaries. I don't know much about the book, but the movie I really like. Warm Bodies. I wish that's one of the horror movies I wish I had brought up. Same for the Fear Street trilogy, especially I like all of them, but I like part two, which is weird because I didn't really like it the first time I saw it, but ever since I really like the most part two, 1978. An underrated Netflix movie I really like is Dumpling. I think it's pretty good with Jennifer Aniston and Dove Cameron's also that movie. A lot of people are in that I really like, especially Dolly Parton music. I really enjoy it. And the really big one I probably would have come up if I had another turn was The Outsiders from Francis Ford Coppola. It's one of the most famous books to movie adaptations of the 80s. Coppola is one of the greatest directors of his generation, and it probably would have made for a really classic field list. But it's okay if it's not here, so that doesn't matter. Honorable mention is good.
Jordan, what are some honorable mentions that you had?
Let's see. Some of my honorable mentions. Let's see. I would have had Holes on there. I mean, I know it's kind of like kids, almost like, but it's one of those borderline ones for me. I think it's kind of
I think that was a valid choice.
Yeah. So, let's see. I'm also trying to like look at other movies that like maybe aren't quite young adults, but I would also have The Outsiders. I think that movie's great. I would have nominated that.
Yeah.
I would have put if we would have like a Chronicles of Narnia one on there. I would have put Prince Caspian. That's the one I kind of gravitate towards the most. And I think they're getting a little older in that one, maybe. So that one maybe could count more. And I think those are probably like the only ones. I have a couple other ones on my list, but they're nothing really probably worth mentioning. I'll just say I'm looking forward to the Percy Jackson series coming up because I was not thrilled with the way the movies were, and that's my favorite book series. Well, my favorite author is Rick Riordan, so yeah, I'll just throw that out there. So.
Yeah, well, that series, there's nowhere to go but up because those movies were not good.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, it's one of those ones like whenever you get an author involved, like heavily involved with the production, like it can either go one of two ways. It can be really good or not so good.
Like Percy chops off the head of Medusa, and what's his famous one-liner? Heads up. Like,
yeah, right. It's like really
that point, even God's going. Do you get it? Like her head is off.
But anyway, Chad, what is someone on mentions that you had?
Yeah, actually, Jordan had a great point with bringing up Holes. That's one of my favorite books from back in the day and movies. Because I was a big Shia LaBeouf fan with Even Stevens and all that too. So yeah, I kind of wish that made it on the list, but there's only 12 spots and there's a lot of really good ones on there. I also had the Princess Diaries, Dumpling. I watched Paper Towns because I was like, oh, Nat Wolff is also in that. And I didn't really care for that movie all that much, although I liked Nat Wolff in it. Another one that I think is also very underseen, like indie film, was The Miseducation of Cameron Post, which is another kind of LGBT-centric film that was really good. And then if I got to the end and I ran out of things to nominate, I was going to see how it would fare, and it probably wouldn't fare very well, but it's a guilty pleasure for me. I was going to bring up Twilight, just because I actually really like the first Twilight quite a bit, because the music slaps. It ends with the Radiohead song. Come on, you can win me over just by doing that. But I also just really like that franchise going forward. But that's one is very risky, throwing a Twilight out and being like, what? And stuff. It's bound to be like maybe one person will go, I actually like Twilight, too. So, and we would high five, and the rest of the people would go, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
I like the first Twilight, actually. Yeah, I would have proposed it as a joke as well. Like, I know it's not a great movie, but at least the first one has actually, like, Catherine Hardwicke makes some actually pretty fun decisions in the directing. Not that the story is actually great, because it's not. Like, but it's the better out of the whole franchise. Is the best one. And also, it was mocked at the time, but I really like the blue color scheme. The really Like, it really makes it pop. It makes it distinct for the other movies in the Twilight franchise. So, but I wouldn't post it just to waste a spot in the list. Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
I like
You
breaking
know
down
what, Shad?
part 2 until like the very end, and they found out like none of it really happened, and you're like, shit. Frick. So-
Anyway, but first of all, you know what, Shad? I actually like Twilight too.
Yeah.
I would have easily said yes to it. So if someone
Yeah.
brought up Twilight,
Well, it
clearly would have made the
didn't
list.
get. I nominated everything that I loved first, a little bit more than
Yeah.
Twilight, and The Hate You Give was. I was like, I think that this deserves to be on there more than Twilight. But if I got another chance, it would have been Twilight.
Yeah, but very quickly, I know we're running short on time here, but for me, I would have brought up Wonder, the Owen Wilson movie. I think
it's a good call.
it's really good. And yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like Narnia came up on a few lists as well. And Lion Witch and the Wardrobe is my favorite one. Of that, I would have put that up at one stage. I like Ready Player One is one that I was considering, and Nick and Noah's Infinite Playlist is based on a young adult book as well. And I love that. And then I think that's it. And talking about quickly because I know someone mentioned Shakespeare earlier on. Like, I wouldn't consider Shakespeare like his plays young adult, but there is a young adult movie called Ophelia, which is basically Hamlet from Ophelia's point of view. And it stars Daisy Ridley in it. I think that's a really good movie. So and that
Yeah,
is a
there's
young adult.
also the one with Caitlin Dever that came up just last year. The one about the character from Romeo and Juliet. That's also that one.
Yeah.
But I forgot the name of that one.
Uh,
It was on
and
Hulu,
very
but I don't
quickly,
remember.
some that have come up. Yeah, some that have come up in the chat. I'm just going to focus on ones that haven't been talked about. Sister of the Traveling Pants was brought up. Bumblefish. Brian did mention Never Ending Story.
It's a good one.
Chris brought up to All the Boys I Loved Before.
Yeah, I need to see that
Um,
one.
yeah, but yeah, let's get rid of that comment. It's taking a long time on my end, but and also like another one that sort of came up that I did rewatch for this Enola Holmes I think is pretty good as well. But with that, we're going to vote on this. Just to recap what we've got on here, we've got Deathly Hallows Part 2, Catching Fire, Perseverance Wallflower, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Love Simon, Stand By Me, Spectacular, A the God It's Me, Margaret, Meet You on the Dawn Girl, Little Woman, Hate You Giving Stars. I've just because I don't consider the book young adult, Stand By Me. Jacob, what do you have for 12?
This is my ranking of the 12, right?
Yeah.
Can you put the list again on the chat, because I had to get out because my internet was breaking up. So can you send it just to see it
That's all
again?
good.
That's why I'm now in
Yeah.
this corner of the on the panel.
Yeah, no, I know.
All right, so for
But
number
Jake, what do
12,
you have for 12?
so for my number 12, I'm going to go with. I am going to. I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Jordan, what do you have for 12?
I just had to rewrite it, but so I'll just say it this time. I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Chad.
Yeah, I had that as well. I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Eric.
Last summer. Yes, I forgot to write it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the hook. I mean, Eric, if you ever want me to repeat the list, I will my computer's actually on a
Yeah.
go through, so it's taking me a while to get things typed. So I'm not going
Ah.
to try to.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah, as when you were saying the list before, like it was breaking up on my end, so like that's why I couldn't. But yeah, if you can, please. So I have the first one. No. Then I remember Catching Fire was next.
Um,
Perks of Being a Wallflower, that was next after that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Perks. The Hate You Give was also not next, but it was on the list, so I remember now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember
Love
Me
Simon was
Earl,
there.
Love Simon,
Simon, yeah.
Stand By Me,
Stand By Me, that's right.
Spectacular Now,
That's right. Expect Now.
Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret,
Are You There, God?
Me, Earl,
Yep.
Little Women,
That's right. Little Women. It's blanking on that.
The Hate You Give,
Yep.
and Fault in Our Stars, and that's it.
That's the last one. That's right. Thank you.
But Jacob, what do you have for number 11?
So for my number 11, I'm going with I am going with Hate You Give.
Jordan, what do you have for 11?
I have Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
Chad,
Dying Girl.
Eric,
I'm also going with The Hate You Give.
I'm going with Stand By Me, but it's going to be The Hate You Give.
I know someone's going to call me out on this, but somehow I have 13 on the list, and I don't know which one is not supposed to be there. So you can let me know if I say
Did you accidentally write down when Eric mentioned he was eating or something?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay, yeah, we'll find out when we get to that. It could just
Yeah.
be when I was reposting them all. Like I got a couple in, but
Yeah.
I don't even know what I wrote. I wrote something here. Can you remind me what was after The Hate You Give on the? No, sorry. What was before Stand By Me on the list? Because I know I wrote something, but I don't know what I wrote.
Love Simon.
Love Simon.
That's the one. Yeah, I couldn't recognize that. I wrote in small, really small. So
Yeah,
I couldn't make
it's all good.
Yeah, sorry.
Jordan, what do you have for 10?
I have still Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
Chad.
Yeah, I still have Dying Girl just because I haven't seen it.
Eric.
I have Fault in Our Stars because I'm an asshole.
I went Stand By Me. Jacob.
I'll go Stand By Me for that.
Jordan.
Well, you asked me already, but I had Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I'd already asked you.
Oh, yeah.
But that is going to be Stand By Me.
All right. Stand By Me.
But Jordan, what do you have for?
I'll still stick with it. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
Chad.
Yeah, I'll stick with Dying Girl for now.
Eric.
I didn't wrote the same thing, so I put Argue There God mostly because I haven't seen.
And yeah, but you know what's more shocking than Jordan bringing up a period piece. It's me wanting a Harry Potter one low on the list. Deathly Hallows Part 2. Jacob.
Oh, that is. Oh, come on. That one's not gonna fly.
Jacob, what do you have for 9?
Little Women.
Little Woman, but it's going to be a Dear God, It's Me, Margaret.
Okay. Oh wait.
But Chad, what do you have for 8?
Yeah, I switched it up. The Little Women.
Eric.
I won't vouch for Little Women Slender, so I will put the Spectacular Now. Malcolm, what do you have? I'm kidding. Jacob, what do you have?
Yeah. Jacob.
Yeah, go ahead, Jacob.
I'll agree with Eric and say Spectacular Now.
I think I had, I'm just gonna make sure it's still there. The Fault in Our Stars, because for the Shailene Woodley one, I think that the Spectacular Now is better. But...
Yeah, I'll switch to Fault in Our Stars.
Oh, then it's a tie until.
Well, I mean, I'm fair. I just
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew you were going with the
But what are we tied between?
Spectacular Now and The Fault in Our Stars. If
So
you
just
allow
to you,
changes
Malcolm?
in voting, yeah, because
I
Shad
mean,
changed his vote.
Can you just remind me what people voted for? Just so I know. So I thought Chad went Little Woman.
So I was Spectacular Now. So was Eric, and Jordan and Chad both had Fault in Our
Stars.
Yeah, it's all good. You'll find out in a minute. I've just got to put the other one in because I was in the middle of typing a banner and I was booted out. That is the number 9.
Are you there, Murray? It's a me, Murray.
And this is
or Mario, yeah.
This is what and number 8. I know it's probably spelled it wrong, but the Spectacular.
Damn it didn't work.
Oh, damn it. Yeah.
It's like might be my number 1.
Yeah. Dang.
Or at least in my top 3.
Look, it was tough because I like both of those movies. I just like the other one more. But Eric, what do you have for 7?
Now I will join you in The Fault in Our Stars.
Definitely Hallows Part 2. Jacob.
I'll agree with Eric. Fault in Our Stars.
Jordan.
And I'll say that I figured out I had Stand By Me on there twice, so now I have the right amount of movies on my list. But The Fault in Our Stars.
And Chad.
Yeah, I'm fine with Fault in Our Stars.
Fault in Our Stars 7. That was actually my number 2, but it's still really high up in my list. Yeah. But back to me, and I'm still going Deathly Hallows Part 2. Jacob.
Let's go with Perks.
Jordan.
I have Love Simon because I haven't seen it. So
Chad.
Yeah, I'm actually fine with Love Simon out of those three.
Eric.
Yeah, besides Love Simon, which I voted, the rest I love. Besides Stand by Me, which already went out. So Love Simon's fine at 6.
Love Simon is going to be at 6. Just to recap what we've got left, we've got Deathly Hallows Part 2, Hunger Games Catching Fire, Perks of Being a Wallflower, Meet You on the Dying Girl, and Little Women. Jacob, what do you have for 5?
Let's go with me, Earl.
Jordan.
all right. Well, I nominated, but it's had a nice run. Little Women. It's not that high for me.
Chad.
Yeah, I'll second Dying Girl.
Eric.
Yeah, I nominated this, but I'm fine with 5. Catching Fire.
Interesting.
Deathly Hallows Part 2, but it's going to be Meet You on the Dying Girl.
Oh, you're going to have to vote for a number 1, Malcolm.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Look, it's as I said, it's not my favorite of the Harry Potter franchise.
No, just kidding. I remember when you were trying to put the soundtrack for Return of the King instead of the Fellowship. I did saw that episode.
So we only have 3 left. That were
4? No, yeah, 4.
okay.
Well, to be fair, I think the Return of the King one was Oscar that nominated scores. Fellowship wasn't nominated. Chad, what do you have for 4?
I'm between a few. I'll say Little Women for now.
Eric.
I only swear when I drive, and also here, Deadly Hallows Part 2.
Deathly Hallows Part 2. Jacob.
Little Women.
Jordan.
Nah, never mind. I know what's going on.
Little Women.
Okay, we're at top 3. Solid top 3 easily, yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely solid top 3.
All right, well, I have to go with this one then as 3.
It's 3 out of my top 4. So.
But Eric, what do you have for 3?
Yeah, I'll stick with Deadly Hallows.
Sticking with Deathly Hallows, Jacob.
Yeah, let's go Perks.
Jordan.
Let's go Catching Fire.
Chad.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting because I'm also going to Catching Fire.
Ooh.
So Jacob, Catching Fire or Deathly Hallows Part 2?
I mean, you know which movie you nominated. Come on.
He can change his mind.
Jacob.
Perks.
No. What between
You're a
Catching
tiebreaker.
Fire and Deathly Hallows Part 2?
Yeah, you have the tiebreaker.
3.
Oh shoot.
Yeah.
Catching Fire then.
There we go.
Yeah, I forgot Catching Fire was still here, so I probably would have voted for that one instead. Now that
This is a great top 2. I'm struggling here for number 1.
Now we just write a number 1, right?
Yep.
All right, I have to.
I would have to number 1. Oh, okay.
the funny thing is, ever since StreamYard booted me out, like it was my typing in the banners was going fast, which is
Weird.
weird. I should have done that earlier if that was the case. But anyway, Jordan, what do you have for number one?
So deserve to have the full title written out because it's number one for me. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Chad.
This is tough. I love these two movies so much, but I have to vote number one for Harry Potter.
Eric.
I didn't want to waste time. I just wrote Perks.
Yeah.
It deserves to have the full title written out. The Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Yeah.
Jacob.
Yeah, I'm a lazy fuck. Don't
Sure.
worry about it.
Harry Potter.
Yeah, I figured.
I wouldn't have been mad at either of those two being number one.
No, I mean, can't go wrong with either.
Yeah.
Just to recap the this once I've finished writing out this banner.
Right.
Some long titles there, so
Yeah.
I mean, I was about to make that point. It's like, what is it with young adult adaptations? They're really long titles. But with that, our top 12 movies based on young adult books. At number 12, we've got I Know What You Did Last Summer. At 11, we've got The Hate You Give. At 10, we got Stand By Me. At 9, we got Hey There, God, It's Me, Margaret. At 8, we got The Spectacular Now. At 7, we got The Fault in Our Stars. At 6, we got Love, Simon. At 5, we got Meteor on the Dying Girl. At 4, we got Little Woman 2019. At 3, we got Hunger Games Catching Fire. At 2, we got The Perks of Being Wallflower. And at number 1, we got Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows Part 2.
There we go. Nice.
But
great list.
Yeah.
But Jacob, where can people
I like
find
it.
you online?
Sorry?
Plugs.
Oh, plugs. Okay. Well, YouTube and all social media at RyanCam20 at my own YouTube channel. I'm nearly at 400 subscribers. I have a soft goal of getting there by the end of the year. I've got a lot of Christmas reviews coming up for the month of December. Small Talk, the Smallville Rewatch podcast, is on a brief hiatus, but we're coming back at the start of December because we had just wrapped talking about season 2, and season 3 is where we're starting up again. So there was Thanksgiving and that. It was a natural stopping point. So we all just collectively decided to take a breather. But we will be coming back at the start of December. And so, yeah, it's a lot of fun stuff coming over to the channel.
Yeah. And you mind if I do mine next? Because I got to jump out to do a little quick last minute thing for trivia.
Yeah, you're next.
You're
Okay,
next.
cool.
You're next, regardless.
Sure, I wasn't sure because we flip flop places. I don't know, but yeah, just tune into. We got some trivia coming up over on the movie hero network. Scene and Her trivia coming up in about 30 minutes or so. We may be a little late, but we'll be close. It'll be close, but and then also we have our new show Recast that's going to be tomorrow night. We just debuted. We got some really cool stuff planned. I got all kinds of like videos and clips. I got some AI stuff that I'm doing that's going to be pretty cool. And yeah, we'll be recasting the movie Aliens, so that'll be fun. And then just for this week, we have coming up, we'll be doing our best one-word titles from the 90s. That'll be Tuesday. It'll be a tier ranker for that one. And then we also have on Friday movies where the main plot focuses on someone's job or workplace. So just be our like workplace movie tournament. And then we'll be doing on. We decided we're going to do it Saturday for Chris Scott, because that's when he is available to do it. But it's Chris Scott, one of my original co-host of the Casablanca Kid, his birthday, and we're going to fittingly pull an audible for Wheel of Movies. We usually spin a wheel to just determine what movie we're going to do, but we're just going to do Casablanca because it's his favorite movie. So So yeah, we'll be doing that. We don't have a time set yet, but it'll be sometime Saturday afternoon. So, and we'll make some posts about that and let everybody know. So, but yeah, that's where you can find us. So, yeah.
Chad, where can people find you online?
Yep. You could check out my letterbox. You could check out my YouTube channel. Both pretty much just Chadwick Webb. On that channel, I rank a lot of stuff with people, just franchises, directors, whatever we're in the mood for. I also am trying to do other things like reviews and stuff. I also have been doing a little bit of reaction stuff with Jake Tato. We did a full Good Burger 2 reaction, but I've been having a lot of trouble with actually getting it on YouTube because of copyright stuff. But I'll get it. I'll get it there. I'm sure. Maybe not. We'll see. But also check out the Dill Pickle Movie Network, where I do a show called Picture This. We're watching every Best Picture nominee, and we're doing for December. We're doing 1960, so we're watching all those movies, talking about them, and trying to figure out what we think should have been the best picture for each year. And quite often, I don't agree with the Academy, so it's very interesting to find that out. And then
Not many people do.
Yeah, well, there you go. And then also check out the on the Nerd Entertainment Network, the show called Welcome to Primetime with myself, my buddy Hunter, and my wife Carrie. We talk horror. We talk about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's our favorite show. And we do horror brackets and stuff. And it's all horror stuff, if I didn't mention that. So we have a lot of fun over there. Yeah, check out TMG Entertainment's Movie Battleground. A lot of great debate over there. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you. This was fun.
Eric, where can people find you online?
You can find me trying to finish my homework before like 2:00 in the morning here. You can find me mostly anywhere this month. I haven't been as often as trivia as I was in October, which I was everywhere. You can find my match in the MCU tournament in the Dill Pickle Movie Network. Oh, Shad's also there. I'm part of the Pizza Planet faction, the best faction in the MCU stuff. You can find me winning the tag team titles with Jacob in a 2-minute match in WWT. also aired in Rio de Janeiro. And you can find us in about 2 weeks in the Why We Love Horror Trivia horror tag team tournament. We are going to play the current champion, Luis and Anthony Tissel. I don't remember their team name, but they are good players, so that's going to be fun. And you can find me in about half an hour or more in the Scene and Her Trivia in the Movie Hero Network.
And you can find me on Tavy Productions hosting. Find me on Tavy Productions hosting Rankin Movie Week. Next week, it was a very tight poll for a change, but it is going to be a redux of top shelf Adam Sandler movies. But you can also find me hosting Gone with the Wind, which is our Oscar show every week. We'll be going to be on the 29th this week. We're going to be talking about the Gotham Awards that are happening this week, as well as various other things. And you can also find me popping up on Tournament Fights and that every now and then. And yeah, but until next time, see you next time. I'm just going to
keep ranking Chad.
Yeah, what Chad said.
It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.